it's Liz Yuille from Old Stables Crafts. Thank you very much for joining me today. If this is your first visit and you're on the Stampers Showcase blog hop, welcome. If you are a more regular subscriber or someone who regularly looks at my blog, thank you very much for joining me again. So today is a Stampers Showcase blog hop, as you will have gathered, and our theme is Happy Fall. Now, obviously in the UK, we don't tend to call it fall, we call it autumn. I think fall is probably a nicer time of year than autumn. All the photos I seem to see of Northern America are beautiful colours of trees and sunshine, and maybe those are the only photographs that are taken. But if I tell you that when I'm recording this video it is pouring with rain and generally disgusting, that's what autumn is. I happen to have two friends who have birthdays soon after I've recorded this. I'm recording it in advance. They're both chaps, and I thought I would make them a birthday card each. We generally do send them birthday cards, it's nothing new. But so this is the card that I've chosen to send them. It uses, if you saw my video, can't remember when, I showed you a sneak peek of something that I was going to possibly use as a swap for Onstage, which was this, and then I decided against it. But it uses that same technique, which I spotted on Pinterest a little while ago. I've also used one of the masks from the Autumn Winter catalogue, and some burlap ribbon and all sorts of good stuff that we've had for a while. The stamp set is Rooted in Nature, which if you were lucky enough to get it last week during the flash sale, well done, you got 15% off. It's a brilliant set, particularly for masculine cards. But we've also got Christmas here because we've got the trees. It comes with, but not part of the same, there are dies that match, is basically what I'm trying to say. So you've got dies for almost everything apart from the cut piece of wood. You've got the leaves. You've got embossing dies as well as cutting dies for some of the leaves. But obviously, because I'm doing heat embossing, I'm not using the embossing dies today. But you've got your Christmas tree dies and everything as well. So really great set. And as I say, that's the Nature's Root stamp set. Die set. And I'm using the Rooted in Nature set. Surprisingly, I've even decorated the inside of my card. The sentiment is from Seasonal Wreaths, which is in the Autumn Winter catalogue. This is kind of tucked away at the back of the Autumn Winter catalogue, but it does give you other occasions to look at. So I thought Celebrate Your Day would be very appropriate. And I wanted to use something from the, from the new catalogue, so that's what I've used, along with the masks. Now the masks, let me grab all of them. The masks, there are 3 of them. 4 of them. So you've got sort of a forest, you've got polka dots, you've got a flourish, and the one that I'm using today, which is the sort of leaf pattern. I'm looking at it as leaves. Now I am using a tiny bit of contraband for my mask technique, but I don't think we'll worry about that too much, that it's contraband. I was trying to see which side I'd used already. Not that it matters, but anyway, this side I think. Anyhow, so let me show you how I made it. It's really not complicated. So long as you can do heat embossing and die cutting, it's fairly straightforward. So I'm going to do the mask stuff first. I've got 2 pieces of Very Vanilla, a smaller piece and a larger piece as ever. The dimensions are on my website, and there's a link to that below. And excuse me, I can't talk. It'll take you straight to the post for today. So let me just make sure I've got the right one first. So I'm going to do the small one first, which is for the outside of the card. And I'm just going to line that up and line up my mask. You can hold it down if you want. The only coloured inks that I've used are Soft Suede and Early Espresso, and those are the two colours of cards that I've used as well. It doesn't actually matter too much which one you use first, but for the sake of starting with one, I'm going to start with Soft Suede, and this is the Contraband. It's a makeup brush. You can get ones that are officially for craft, which maybe don't have the stray hairs, but these ones seem to work perfectly well. I would like to get some that are available in the States, but aren't available over here. There is one particular lot that I would like to get, but hey-ho. Maybe Stamping Up will get them for us one day. Right, so I've just put some ink from my ink pad onto my brush, and I'm just in a swirly pattern going to swirl on some ink. You can make it as light or as dark as you want. If you want it lighter, then you can brush off some of the ink before you start. And I'm just doing an area. It's a nothing in particular area, just an area, and that's all I'm doing. Then, with Early Espresso, I'm going to just very slightly offset. So I'm going up and across a bit. This actually worked by mistake on my original, and I kind of liked it. Basically, I just moved my mask, and I liked it, so I'm doing it again. Yep, and I'm not going all over exactly the same space. So I'm doing some that's, I'm going to leave some that's just Soft Suede and some that's just Early Espresso, and then quite a lot that's overlapped. And there we have our background piece. It's almost psychedelic. And then for the inside, I'm just going to, now did I use Soft Suede? No, I think I just used whatever was left on the brush. So all I'm going to do for the inside of the card is just add a bit of colour, I mean it's sort of colour, in the bottom corner like that. So that's it. And the thing with these brushes is that they don't hold a huge amount of ink that they then pass over. There's a bit there, but not a huge amount. And cleaning up is as simple as just rubbing it until it doesn't really give you any more ink. You will have noticed that I said I was going to change my grid paper, and of course I haven't, because knowing I was then going to do this, I didn't. Okay, so that's that. Then we've got to do some stamping. Most of the stamping is going to be in Versamark. So the first thing I'm going to do is drop my embossing buddy onto a piece of Very Vanilla, and grab my leaf stamps, Versamark ink pad. Now, because I want to add embossing buddy, and Versamark can decide it's going to sink into the paper, so I'm inking all of the stamps first, and then I will do the embossing powder. So I'm going to come there, I think. So that's one. Now I can see where I'm stamping. You may not be able to, but I can, so I'm just going to stamp them in a little line like that. And that's all of those done. And then I'm going to grab, first of all, my copper embossing powder, and just get rid of the extra embossing buddy. And then with my high-tech dispenser, dispense some copper embossing powder. Now I do want some of it to sort of cross over, so I'm not fussed that it does this. Which way up did I go? Ooh, I think that's the top. So I want a little bit to just cross over onto the other areas, so that it's not obviously a solid colour. Some of that is going back in the pot and some of it isn't. So I then want just a very little, just to sort of, as if I'm putting some icing sugar on top of a cake. Right, so that's the copper. And then the silver is going to be easier. Sorry, the gold is going to be easier because basically I just want gold embossing powder wherever there is ink left. So that's that. Now, the thing I forgot to do, but I will rectify that, is it's not just the leaves that we're going to heat emboss. So I don't know if you've noticed that on the end of my burlap ribbon I've also got embossing powder, just to sort of spruce it up a bit, because I can, so I thought I would. So all you have to do for that is get your Versamark pad and add a bit of ink to the end of your ribbon, and you kind of don't want it to be too much of a straight line. I had too much of a straight line on the original one, but if you can try to not do a straight line, that would be excellent. And then just get the ends and dabble them into your embossing powder. And it does tend to take quite a lot more embossing powder than you think it's going to, so knock any extras off. And then we can grab our trusty cheese board and our heat tool. So, don't actually need that card here, do I? I'll pop that to one side. So I'm just heating up my embossing gun, heat gun, and the bit we all love, I love these skeleton leaves, they are just so elegant. So that's those, and then there we go. So really easy to heat emboss on your ribbon. It goes very, very quickly, and indeed leaves some on your cheese board. But that's fine, we can get that off later. Right, okay, so I need to bring in my die cutting machine, and I'm just going to rough cut these out because I've got the magnetic base plate on, so I want to make sure that the dies are in the right place. These dies, because they're a little small, and if you use them on the magnetic base plate, do sometimes decide where they're going to go. So it's best to have the pieces that you want to die cut separated, because then you can move the piece rather than, so that wants to go across a bit and a bit more. So basically allow the die to sit where it wants to go. You're not going to win the battle, so just accept that and move what you're cutting. So that wants to go down a bit and across a bit. There we go. Top plate, and there we go. So let's take those off, and then we can have a proper look at them. So this one's probably the easiest to see it on. Can you see that you've got two colours there? And it's quite a nice sort of, not a straight line. And that's because we allowed some of the embossing powder to float across from one area to the other. Right, the only other thing that we need to do before we can put the card together is stamp the piece of wood and then cut it out, which is incredibly quick to do, and also do the sentiment So I'm inking up in soft suede, and then I'm just going to do the good old rock and roll around the edge with early espresso. So just roll the stamp into the early espresso, and then you get two colours coming out. So can you see that it's not all the same colour? It's probably not terribly clear on the camera, but in real life it's gorgeous. Right, so very quick fussy cutting. I will come back and take out the V's, but I find it quicker to do the outside and then come back and do the smaller bits. And as ever, I'm leaving the scissors basically still and moving the card, not the other way around. So all I'm doing with the scissors is opening and closing them. This is not a difficult shape to cut out, and if it's not totally even all the way around, it doesn't matter because it's just a slice of wood. So then we can come in, if you want, you don't have to, and just take out the little bits that are sort of slices from the piece. Just one more, I think. This one is a fairly large one, so we'll do that. Yeah. Okay, so sentiment, I'm just going to stamp on a piece of offcut from having made card mats, and I've got the Celebrate Your Day on the back side of the little leaf. So early espresso ink, and make sure it's well inked up. One end is inked up better than the other. That's fine, I think. There we go. So that's that. Pop that to one side to clean later. Get rid of that. This is very easy to cut out because all you have to do is that. So really simple. So now let's grab our card base, or mat rather. Then I want a piece of tear and tape. Just a strip. Pop it across the card at an angle and grab the backer, and that then holds the burlap ribbon in place. And then I've got some offcuts from Dimensionals, and I'm going to put one there. These are the edge pieces, which are just great for these sorts of things. So just put one either side of the ribbon, and then one at the top there, and whoops, one at the bottom. Remove the paper, and that was going at the top. Just pop that in place. Then your leaves, I just had them kind of like that. And yes, right, glue. That's what we need. We need some glue. So little dab of glue on there. Now I am going to put a dimensional on the very top of here, purely because it is going to stick out quite a long way. And then another dollop of glue on that. Oh, taking the top off your dimensional is a good plan, really, isn't it? So that then goes there. And then I want this. So another dollop of glue there. Celebrate Your Day. Then this. I'm only going to put glue at the bottom because it is curling up thanks to the heat embossing. So I'm going to let it actually do that, but obviously I need to make sure it's going to stay in place as well. So ooh, that's not completely straight. That's better. Right, now last little piece of adornment is I've got a piece of linen thread here. Gosh, 19, nearly 20 minutes, and it's only a card. Oops. So this is just long enough. I know, because I cut a piece of linen thread in half and I've used the other half for the other card. And this half for this card. That's a tail. So that's a tail, those are tails, these are loops. I just wanted something a little bit thicker than just one piece of linen thread. So there we go, just clip the ends off and grab a mini glue dot and kind of roll it into a sausage, which can then go on the back of that and there. And I'm not worried that the tails go over the sentiment, because it's still obvious what it says. Right, so I've got a early espresso mat. Oh, I know what I still need to do, but we'll pick that up in a moment. So an early espresso mat, and I'm just going to add some glue to that. I know I'm adding it to the mat, not to the layer. I happen to know that I've got a very, very, very tight margin round my Very Vanilla, so as long as I don't go over the edge of the early espresso, I know I'm going to be okay. Press that down. Soft suede card base. This is a long and thin half slice of A4 paper. I will have North American letter size measurements as well over on my blog. As I say, that's linked below. So don't worry about that. I've done the work for you. And pop that down. And again, I like to press from the back. And then all I forgot to do was, let's remember myself which colour I used, early espresso. Okay, so grab my early espresso ink pad and my leaf, stamp off and stamp. Simple as that. And then all I need to do is pop this on the inside of my card, and again I'm going to put the glue onto the card it's going to be stuck on. Part of the reason I do this is that the Very Vanilla and Whisper White smooth cardstock is not quite as robust as the coloured cardstock. So if you put the ink on the back of the Very Vanilla or Whisper White, you can sometimes see where you've put it from the front. I mean, only if you kind of know it's there, but I'm just going to give that a little bit of a haircut. But if you put it on the card, you're less likely to see it through. Anyway, there we go. Those are my two masculine happy fall cards. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If this is your first visit and you'd like to subscribe, you can do that in the bottom right hand corner. As I say, all the measurements and the rest of the blog hop are over on my website, which is linked below, and I will have listed all of the products that I've used below and on my website. And as I say, the dimensions for that I've cut everything, including North American letter size, are over on my blog post, kind of right towards the bottom. Thank you very much indeed for joining me. If you are on the blog hop, please go and continue now. If you are not on the blog hop, please go and continue now, because there will be some fantastic projects. I know the people who are taking part, and some of them are amazing. Thank you very much indeed, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye!